The New York Knicks trade rumors are heating up as NBA trade season is right around the corner, and we have an SNY article from David Würzberger that we have to talk about. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. My name is Chris. I'm wearing a hat because my hair looks insane, and let's jump right into it. The first guy on the list is Bogdan Bogdanovic. We have talked about him on the channel before. And when you look at it, he's a 40% career three-point shooter. He's put up 20 points per game in more than one season. But really what's being highlighted here is Detroit needs some level of NBA level production because they're not really getting any of that right now. They have basically 0 wins through this entire season. They did not win in the month of November. That was insane. The Knicks made sure of that at the very end of the year, or at the very end of the month. And what they say in the article is that essentially, to get him, it would probably be Fournier's contract because they match up very closely. And then some draft picks. And I think that makes sense for the Detroit Pistons because they should just fully tank and accept it. And then you open up some cap space anyway to find some different NBA level talent that you could just sign in the offseason. I think that would make the most sense. However, for the New York Knicks, I'm not so sure. There's really just nowhere in the rotation for this guy to fall into. Bogdanovic is a tremendous player. He's a tremendous shooter. His defense has fallen off in the past few years, but he's still a tremendous shooter. He gives the Knicks more forward depth, but he's someone who deserves to be playing NBA minutes. I think he's a really good player. Just his offense is really worth it. Except if you just don't have the spot for him rotationally. The Knicks really would not be able to find him consistent enough minutes and enough minutes in general for this to be worth giving up a first-round pick for. And that's really all we got to say on that topic. This might be a recurring theme of us having to basically say, well, there's not really a spot for them. The Knicks got a solid top 9, and then Deuce McBride is someone who feels like he deserves NBA minutes, but he's stuck on a Knicks team that has Jalen Brunson and Emmanuel quickly ahead of him at the point guard position. However, we move on to Jonathan Isaac. As Würzberger highlights, he is a bigger risk than the rest of them because he's basically missed all of the last 3 seasons of basketball. He's a bit of an offensive mystery. He's owed $17 million next season. But he does average 2.4 steals and 3.3 blocks per 36 minutes. Again, he gives the Knicks forward depth. He could play either forward spot. And it would be an interesting move. I actually really like the idea of Jonathan Isaac. But the problem is the idea of Jonathan Isaac is much more exciting than the actual Jonathan Isaac because of this. Jonathan Isaac got drafted in 2017. Now, if you do not remember who the Rookie of the Year was in 2017, it was Ben Simmons, but there were also guys like Donovan Mitchell and Jason Tatum who are actually in that draft. Unlike Simmons, who just missed the first year of his career, which means he was still totally a rookie when he started his NBA career, but it is what it is. And essentially, he played 27 games in his rookie year, then plays basically a full season, then tears his ACL, misses the next 2 seasons from that, comes back for 11 games before once again getting injured last season, and now he's back, he's playing, but he's not starting. He's only getting 13 minutes a night, which is some of the lowest of his career, except for when he was first coming back from his basically 2.5 to 3 year hiatus from basketball due to the injury. And honestly, it'd be fun to have him. I think he's probably still got some athleticism left in the tank because he's only 26. ACL injuries heal. But I don't want $17 million again. If you could give up Fournier and not a first round pick, I'm in. I'm so in. Like, so in. If the Knicks can get away with giving Evan Fournier back to the Orlando Magic and giving, like, 3 second-round picks even, hopefully just the 2 that Indiana gave you, but just even 3 second-round picks, get Jonathan Isaac, who could theoretically get plugged in. I don't really care about 3 second-round picks that much. The Knicks have 1 million second-round picks. You're not going to use them all. The siren's out there. That's because, I don't know, maybe someone's on their way to the hospital. Maybe it's Jonathan Isaac. Hopefully not, though. Hopefully he's all good. And I'm willing to take the risk on it. Maybe a change of scenery will help him. But even so, it's such a risk because he just hardly plays basketball. He's played 162 NBA career games. Then there's guys like Donovan Mitchell who have been in the NBA for the same amount of time and have played way more. And here's just a little context for you. Here's Mikal Bridges' stats. Mikal Bridges, for his career, he's been an Iron Man, he always has been, has played 408 career games. Jonathan Isaac has played 162 games. Jonathan Isaac was picked pretty soon before Mikal Bridges in the same year.
You see the problem with that. And I really can't get my head past that, which, I mean, as I said, I'm in. I'm in. If you can give up Fournier in a few seconds, I'm in. But the Magic are probably going to ask for a protected first for him, and if they do that, then you got to be out. You cannot do that. He does not play enough for that to be worth it. However, we move on to Gordon Hayward, someone I've talked about on this channel and could see the New York Knicks going after. I feel pretty similarly about Gordon Hayward as I do about Jonathan Isaac, where it's just kind of, I mean, maybe if you could not give up a first-round pick, you could go for him. He could be useful off the bench. Who knows where he'd get minutes, but you can figure that out later. He adds more talent to the Knicks team. And moving him back to the 3 spot would probably help everyone involved, especially his shooting. It would probably help him excel more in Charlotte. He's averaging 13 points, 5 rebounds, 4.5 assists. His shooting numbers, again, they're not great, but they could balloon up in New York where there's going to be less defensive attention on him. He deserves NBA minutes. The Hornets are probably going to ask for at least something of some value for him, and I just don't know where that would come in. And this is basically what I said when Darielle and I talked about this. I just don't see Gordon Hayward being someone who would ever get minutes on the New York Knicks. And what are you going to do about that? There's not much you could do. I think you pass on this one. Still, right now, my favorite is Jonathan Isaac. But, however, we move on to DeAndre Hunter. As it's put in the article, DeAndre Hunter won't be an easy needle to thread because of the Atlanta-New York Knicks rivalry. And the Hawks would probably want an upgrade if they're going to trade DeAndre Hunter, but he would give the Knicks a really good forward who's a great defender, could potentially be the best on-ball defender on the New York Knicks, and though he is a good shooter, he's not as good of a shooter as Quentin Grimes in theory. Obviously, Grimes is shooting pretty poorly right now. Feels like it's just a slump. Feels like he'll get his groove back. I'm interested in DeAndre Hunter, but yeah, the Hawks are only going to trade him if they could get an upgrade of some sort, and I just do not think the Hawks are going to get an upgrade of any sort. Or the Hawks would do a trade where they're not getting an upgrade of any sort. I think they would absolutely use DeAndre Hunter as a complementary piece to a different trade to trade for someone better and get an improvement, because they did already trade those 3 first-round picks to get DeJounte Murray to the team, and they are in win-now mode, as problematic as that has been for them. And I just don't see the Knicks getting DeAndre Hunter out of this, so we move on to the final name on this list, Jeremy Grant. Is he the best player on this list? Pretty certainly so, but then there's that contract that we got to remember he just signed. He's averaging a career-high 23 points per game. He's also getting 4 rebounds and 2 assists. He's shooting 43% from deep, which is a career best. Jeremy Grant was on the Pistons for a while, and he played excellent basketball. More sirens. But essentially, the thing here is those sirens are completely due to that contract. That's a warning for the contract of Jeremy Grant. Guys, it is something. I mean, 27 this year, going up to basically 30 the next year, 32, then 34, and then a player option that he's going to accept for $36 million when he's 33 years old, and he'll probably still be a good player by then. I'm not saying that he's going to become washed up. I actually don't think that's going to be the case at all. However, I don't think it's worth to go out there and make a trade where you're going to have to give up another rotational player. You can't just throw Fournier's tradable contract. You got $12 million that you need to cover for. So it's not going to be Josh Hart because they just traded him to New York less than a year ago. It's not going to be DiVincenzo. The Knicks just signed him because they liked him. Isaiah Hartenstein's money doesn't add up. Emmanuel Quickley's doesn't, and also that would be an overpay. And then you go to the Knicks starters, and you're certainly not going to do any of those guys for Jeremy Grant. I do not think that this move makes any sense. Brian Windhorst put it best when he was talking about NBA contracts. The way you can tell if someone just signed a bad contract and a bad contract in the sense of they got overpaid is, can you instantly turn around and trade them tomorrow? I do not think that's the case with Jeremy Grant's contract. As good as he's been, and maybe you can to a contending team, a team that's better than the Knicks, and has a player who's getting paid nearly $30 million, who doesn't deserve it at all, and you could throw draft picks and then get Jeremy Grant. But that's not the New York Knicks. I don't see how this trade would make any sense for the Knicks. I don't like this idea for the Knicks. And I don't want them to be owing someone $30 million, unless it's RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, or Jalen Brunson. That's it. And Brunson's not even getting that much. So thank you so much for tuning into this video, guys. This was a fun one to make. I am exhausted, though, so we're not going to do a long outro. Have a great day. Remember, go Knicks. Subscribe to the channel.